but we have to learn to say I love you without food. Now that's going to be one of the most important pearls that if someone figures out how to do that, let me know. Hello and welcome to this edition of the Wise Medical Minute. A couple of videos ago, we started what will be an ongoing series about talks regarding a successful weight loss effort. Now, today I want to try to spend something less than a minute on approximately 30 basic pointers that anybody trying to lose weight should keep in mind. A couple of videos ago, we talked about the most important features of what I call the common sense diet. And I will mention those briefly in passing, but I refer you to the previous video to get more details about the how comes and the what ifs. But the most important thing is no fried nothing. That's a biggie. Don't drink your calories. And portion control. We'll speak some more about that as we go along today. And remember, eliminate the sauces and the gravies and all those things you add to the food. Those are the real problems. But the drinking your calories, let's pause there for a minute. I saw a statistic and did some arithmetic based on sweet tea and soda and beverages that are sugary or whatever one you want to choose. Now, the data for soft drinks works out to about 20 pounds per year if you drink one soft drink per day. So if you doubt that, it's based on the 12 ounces. Most people do the 20 ounces, so I extrapolated my numbers to the 20 ounce beverages. So somewhere between 15 and 20 pounds per year result from a single sugary beverage every day. So that one's significant, and it's not like anything new we invented, but that puts it in focus, the importance of not drinking your calories. Now, eliminating the obvious junk, the snacks, the desserts, and all that stuff, those things can be enjoyed as a part of a maintenance program, but during the period when you're actively losing weight, you need to eliminate the obvious junk. Now, I was asked to comment specifically on exercise. Exercise is useful to help maintain the loss of weight that you achieve by cutting calories. It's that simple. You cannot possibly exercise off what you can eat. If you want to make up for eating a little something you should not have eaten, you want to do about 22 miles jogging per pound, okay? And a pound is essentially the equivalent of 3,500 calories. So you can do the math, you can read the labels, you can see how much you'd have to run in order to exercise off what you eat. So, what does exercise do? Exercise keeps the machinery running at a higher tilt, if you will. The BMR is increased when you exercise. So even at rest, when you're not exercising, a person who exercises is burning up more calories even during sleep. So the issue with exercise is, yes, you need to exercise, but don't count on exercise to offset eating inappropriately. Now, that gets into the first segment of the tips. The next group of tips I'm stealing from the people in sales who always come around trying to sell me stuff I don't want. And sometimes they sell me stuff I do want. But most people who've trained in sales or business will be familiar with the S.M.A.R.T approach to closing a deal, or I'm going to use the S.M.A.R.T approach to successful weight loss. Now the S in S.M.A.R.T, this is an acronym, S.M.A.R.T. The S stands for specific. You need to have specific goals, and you need to have a target that you're definitely shooting for, And that specific target needs to be well stated, written down, and you don't want to be satisfied till you achieve that specific goal. Now, the M in SMART has to do with measurable. The relevance for a successful weight loss effort pertains to how often should you weigh. I mean, unfortunately, we're measuring things in pounds for the most part, but I would also encourage measuring percent body fat, especially if you're doing a lot of exercise and working out and building muscle. The pounds don't tell the whole story. So you want to measure both pounds and percent body fat. And ladies like to measure inches, okay? So you want something measurable. You want to keep a track of these things, and monitoring whatever you're measuring will keep you motivated as you continue towards your specific goal. Now, in sales circles, they always talk about attainable goals. The A stands for attainable, but in weight loss effort, I want to use the word accountable. Not just attainable, but when you have to face somebody and be accountable for your actions, your likelihood of success is far greater than if you try to keep what you're doing a secret. We like with the patients in our weight loss program for them to come in every week. You know, just that moment of truth when they have to step on the scale. That's a very memorable occasion, and it lasts for at least that week until they have to come back and step up on that scale again. Now, there's differences of opinion in psychiatric circles about weighing every day. I'm of the school of thought that you don't do any harm by stepping up on the scale in your own moment of truth, butt naked in the bathroom the same time every day. And you know, you can't blame stuff on clothes or shoes or change in your pocket or all those things. But a moment of truth daily, measuring where you are, your daily success, especially if you have a digital scale that can give you half-pound increments or a pound, it's important to, in addition to measuring something, be accountable first and foremost to yourself. Now, usually the R in the SMART approach talks about something being relevant, but for you who are helping yourself to lose weight, have reasons, okay? Whether it's looking good at a family reunion or looking good at a class reunion or getting into a certain size dress for your daughter's wedding, or have a reason. I want to be around for my grandchild's graduation from college. Have some kind of reasons that you use to motivate you, and remind yourself of these reasons. Write them down, put it down somewhere you can see it. And these reasons will keep you going and help you get closer to your goal. Now, last but not least, time is important. There usually is a benefit to creating a sense of urgency, you know, setting deadlines, but these need to be reasonable and attainable. But there needs to be some element of timeliness during the acute phase when you're trying to aggressively lose weight. Now, when you get to the maintenance phase, we want to have a different attitude. But when you're at a point where you're still trying to lose weight, that timeliness is very important. Now, one of the biggest things that causes relapse in people who've had a little bit of success with their weight loss effort is guilt. So you don't want to throw yourself under the bus or into the deep end of the pool. You want to have realistic approaches to things. You want to be able to accept it when you have little setbacks. I use myself as an example, and I use this point to emphasize that obesity is more of a psychological condition than a physical condition. Once in a while we get lucky and we'll find a thyroid problem or something easy to fix that'll help people to lose weight, or we can eliminate a drug that's been causing them to make increases in their weight that have nothing to do with the calories they're eating. But by and large, for the average person who's overweight, the problem is a psychological issue. All the medical stuff that we treat are consequences. These are not the cause. There's lots of consequences, and we'll save that for a future video. But you have to be able to be positive, be focused, Accept that there will be some setbacks, and don't let guilt sabotage your success. Now, as another saying, be a planner, or I prefer the cliche, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So you have to have a success plan. You have to plan your meals. You can't just go to the grocery store like me when you're hungry and end up coming out of there with a bunch of stuff you don't need. Plan your list, go to the store, get what you meant to go get. And obviously stuff that's not going to help you lose your weight, leave it in the store. So planning and having meal plans and just being organized, and it's self-evident when you fail to do these things, okay? Now, the value of water we cannot overemphasize. Water does a whole lot of good things. A healthy human body is at least 70% water, okay? But when you're burning fat, you're also releasing things like ketones and various toxins, and those things have to be flushed out. Moreover, drinking water can actually create a sense of fullness, especially when combined with high fiber choices for your weight loss regimen. Now, the other thing about water is we have situations where we aggressively are burning fat to the point of ketosis, and if people don't drink adequate amounts of water, there is that risk of ketoacidosis that we talked about in a previous video. I will refer you to that. That's especially true for those folks in the aggressive protocols that I'm not necessarily talking about right now. But last but not least, the craving centers in our brain sometimes confuse hunger with thirst. So when you're really thinking you're hungry, you might be thirsty. So before you go and gorge on 4,000 calories or whatever, drink a glass or two of water and then go and eat. So sometimes if your sensations are really thirst and not hunger, you can save yourself a whole bunch of calories. Now, one of the biggest contributors to the pandemic of obesity, y'all thought I was going to talk about that other pandemic, but one of the biggest contributors to the pandemic of obesity is screens. Cell phones, tablets, and the blessed TV. I think the more time you spend in front of these screens, or whatever electronic devices, is getting even fancier nowadays, but these electronic devices, I think, are the reason there's a lot more fat people in the world in 2020 than there used to be in the 20th century. So the screen time is not our friend. Limit your time in front of the screen, and that has to help with any weight loss effort. Now here's another one that doesn't get enough attention: sleep. Now intuitively, you would think that losing weight is a catabolic activity, but the actual burning of calories that makes the biggest difference is an anabolic process. When, I won't get into the words so much, but when your body is fixing itself, it is burning calories to make repairs to all the important tissues: heart, lung, muscles, bone, everything. So sleep is important if you're going to lose weight. People who get sleep deprived, the body releases a bunch of stress hormones. These stress hormones result in getting fat. So bottom line is you have to get enough sleep as a significant part of any meaningful weight loss effort. Now we talked about surrounding yourself with positivity. The attitude is very important. But we know from my experience and the experience of most people that your emotional state of being, sometimes you address that with food. I mean, chocolate is more potent than Valium when it comes to treating anxiety. You use foods that release serotonin in the brain, and by virtue of an insulin response, triggering release of tryptophan, converting that to serotonin, and the serotonin just chills you right out. That happens within seconds. Mother Nature made a wonderful machine in this human body, And this biochemistry that I just described, that you could read about on multiple pages, literally takes place in seconds after you bite that Hershey bar. So the idea of dealing with stress and getting enough sleep and having a positive attitude, all of those things contribute to the psychological aspects of managing a weight loss effort. Now, another helpful tip with regards to losing weight is not making dinner your biggest meal. Most of us who are overweight, some have only one meal every day. I don't eat but once a day. And that meal is always the evening meal. But if you have a proportion of your calories for breakfast, multiple small meals in between, and a light dinner, the chances of your total caloric consumption being less is very good. So one big meal a day equals a big belly all day, every day. So we want to redistribute the calories at different times of the day. Now, a lot of people will take issue with this next pearl, but I see it as a peri-Mediterranean cultural phenomenon when we talk about cooking with oil. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the Persian countries or the Italians or the Greeks, but oil has 119 calories per tablespoon. So it's a rare dish that you use with oil, whether cooking or salads or whatever. That oil is a source of a lot of calories. Now there's other nutritional benefits, so I'm not knocking oil, but during the period of time you're actively trying to lose weight, that's an area where we need to curtail what seems to be something innocent that you might take for granted and not think about. Now, we already talked about eating more calories earlier in the day, but those calories that you eat late in the day don't get burned up, they get stored as fat. So eating more earlier in the day is important. Now, prepared meals are the great saboteurs. Even when they have a low amount of calories, they tend to have a high amount of sodium. So bottom line is cook it yourself. And if you're adding the salt, you have nobody to blame but yourself. But when you buy prepackaged foods, they come already to sabotage your blood pressure, if not just your waistline. So prepared meals are a questionable issue if they're prepared the right way. I mean, I'm not saying every prepared meal is bad, but in general, prepackaged foods are not the choice you want to make with a weight loss effort when you have the option of something fresh that you prepare yourself. Now, I don't know if this other trick works, but I'd be remiss not to point out that some people believe that if you eat on a smaller plate, you consume fewer calories. And then there's folks like me that just fills up the plate 2 or 3 times. So I'm not sure that the plate per se makes a difference, but it does heighten your awareness of how much you're consuming. If you have a big old plate and you only fill, I didn't go back for seconds, but you can take a smaller plate. It'll take 2 or 3 of those plates to fill up the big one. So a smaller plate might be worth considering, but I'm not sure that's as useful since I'm such a violator. I'm not sure that's as useful as some of our other tips. Now here's some that do make a difference and I feel more confident make a big difference. Don't eat on the move. My car is a grand mess because I eat fast food, okay, on the run, trying to bounce between multiple office and my home and personal and grandparenting duties. Grabbing meals and eating on the run, inevitably you're going to consume more calories. When it's time to eat, sit down, enjoy the meal, savor the moment, enjoy it, and the net caloric consumption will be greatly reduced. So don't eat on the move, that's an important one. Now here's another difficult one. We try with less than consistent success to motivate our patients to keep a food diary. Okay? Food diaries are useful in making you aware of what you're actually eating. So if it goes past your lips, you should record it on a piece of paper. And just that exercise of heightening your awareness again of what you're actually consuming will make a huge difference as far as making you aware of the calories you kind of forgot about. When you try to recollect in retrospect what you ate, you'll say, all I had was, but you forgot more than 80% of what you actually had. So keeping that food diary, as the IRS would say, contemporaneously, will allow you to be aware of the calories that you're consuming. So in addition to eating only when you're hungry and not eating just because, the food's available, that's an important tip I want to emphasize as well. Now, last but not least, this is a difficult one. Culturally, and this is probably true for most cultures, we impose in our preferences, our activities, some kind of bias where if we want to express how much we love someone, if we want to express how much we care about someone, we want to feed them. I know in multiple generations of my family, you pick a mother or a grandmother and you walk into the house and it's, hey baby, how you doing? Hadn't seen you in a long time, did you eat? All of that's one sentence. And you haven't been in the house 5 minutes before you're being fed something. Well, that's the way we say we love you. But we have to learn to say I love you without food. Now that's going to be one of the most important pearls that if someone figures out how to do that, let me know. But I know that is a great saboteur that imposes a lot of extra calories on people who are really sincerely trying to lose weight. So that's a quick rundown of some things that none of which I invented, but all of which I compiled from multiple sources, that if there's at least one or two or three things amongst the stuff we talked about today that will be something you can embrace religiously, I'm confident it will help you to get closer to your weight loss goals. Thank you for your attention. I solicit your input for future conversations. Send me an email, info@wisemedicalcenter.com, and your suggestions will be incorporated into future videos. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Wise Medical Minute with Dr. Thomas Locke. Dr. Locke addresses current events as well as important medical issues using responsible, unbiased journalism approached from a medical perspective. We invite you to submit questions or comments or suggestions for future topics by email to info@wisemedicalcenter.com. Again, thank you for viewing the Wise Medical Minute.